Richard is very
Welcome to an explanation of the Laramie County fifth penny sales tax option that will be on the ballot. It's on your ballot now for early voting, and November 6th is election day. And this is just an explanation by representatives from the county. It is a county-wide fifth penny. A lot of projects do help the city of Cheyenne, but you'll hear the whole story tonight. It's a nice presentation. It's really comprehensive. And, you know, we hope that if you enjoy watching this or you find it helpful for voting on YouTube, that you will let anyone or your friends and family know. And there should be a full explanation. If you have questions, you can call the city and county and ask them about it. But the presentation tonight, the main presenter is Vicki Nemechek, sorry about that. Anyway, and there's a video or some slides represented here, and so I hope this helps you decide on to support it. It is a very vital to our county for public works, social service agencies, the library, and so I hope you find this helpful. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Ms. Herman and the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to talk about the fifth penny sales tax. Our entire idea here and goal is just to make sure that the voters are informed and when they go to the polls. So we're here to give you the information you need to make a wise choice. So the 1% sales tax, as Ms. Herman mentioned, is on the ballot right now, and you can vote right now, or you can vote on Tuesday, the election day, which is November 6, 2018. An overview of what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'll start with some information in history. I'll talk a little bit about the past use of the sales tax, the 2019 to 2022 distribution, which is the tax that we've placed on the ballot for November, and the 2019 to 2022 projected sales tax use. What are we going to do with it? Some information in history. The tax is authorized by state statute. Title 39, Chapter 15, Article 2 is where you can find that in the statutes. It does require resolutions from the county plus 2/3 of the cities in the county, and it requires voter approval. So that's why we're here, is to give you the information you need to make an informed decision. This tax may be used as general revenue, but the county does use it as general revenue, and we do have Commissioner Heath here to talk more about how the county uses their tax, and I'll specifically talk about how the city uses the tax. The city specifies how the funding is used, and we do that because we have a city ordinance that requires that. It's Chapter 3 in the paragraph that you can see on the screen there if you're interested in going and looking to what we require. Some information in history. The tax was first adopted in 1977, and it was entirely for road projects. It has been renewed every election since 1977. In 1978, we started to add police and fire, and then we began adding some other agencies in 1987, but the majority of the tax, again, is still used as a road tax. Past sales tax use, again, traditionally about 80% of the tax designated specifically for streets. So anything on, under, over the streets is where that 80% goes. The remaining 20% goes towards fire, police, community recreation and events, or what most people know as parks, capital equipment, city county health, animal shelter, the airport board, human services, and economic development. And I'll talk about each of those and how specifically those agencies use the tax. This slide shows some of the completed street projects and how we've used your tax. I like to say that this one shows how we can leverage your tax with other dollars that we can get in grants, federal grants, state grants, local grants, FEMA grants, all kinds of different things. There are a lot of sources of funds out there, so we use this tax to leverage because a lot of them require matches. So you'll notice that Campstool Road, the total project cost was $1.2 million plus, but we only had to use about half of that out of the fifth penny sales tax, and that's because we were able to leverage a state grant, a 50-50 grant. Also, Ridge Road traffic signals. We did put 2 new signals up on Ridge Road. Each one of those signals a signal costs about $250,000, so we got a kind of a bargain here, $450,000 plus, and half of that again came from a state grant. So we were able to leverage the sales tax. Snyder Avenue, Logan Avenue, 19th Street, rehabilitation, all of those big ticket items that we've done, those big projects, those were all paid for with your fifth penny sales tax, along with a little bit of funds from the Board of Public Utilities, because they do, whenever we do a road project, they go ahead and share the cost of their sanitary sewer and water lines. The current and upcoming projects that we have planned. Evers Boulevard was on the last, the current tax actually. So the tax from 2015 to 2018 that we're still collecting and will collect through the end of December. Evers Boulevard was the second priority project. The first was 19th Street, and that project's been completed. So we are required to have the funding and be ready to move forward with the next project. We have to be completed with the first project. So the first priority, 19th Street, we finished that and moved on to Evers Boulevard. We have that almost completely designed. We are planning to go out for bid in the January timeframe, and then we'll start construction in spring. That plan is we're expecting to cost about $5.5 million. Some of that's the Board of Public Utilities funds, but the majority of it is fifth penny sales tax. And that will be done with overage money, which is money that we collected that is over the $42,500,000 estimate that we estimated for the 15 to 18 tax. Another project that we're planning, Yellowstone and Del Range intersection, again, overage money, about $1.5 million. That intersection, about a couple years ago when they did counts, I know there were about 35,000 cars that went through that intersection each day. It's an asphalt intersection. Asphalt doesn't hold up as well as concrete. So we are looking to put that intersection into concrete so that it will stand up better, last longer. You can get 20 years out of a concrete intersection if you maintain it correctly. Drainage at Pershing, Duff, and 23rd. Bradley is the last project that we plan to do with overage if the overage comes in appropriately. Approximately $2 million is what we're thinking that's going to cost, and we are going to go out and try to get a FEMA grant and leverage some of this money. So hopefully we can use a smaller portion of the tax in order to complete this project. We do have some flooding at that area, and it's pretty significant for private property owners there. So we'd like to get that fixed, and it's an important project. So those are the three projects that we have upcoming. The distribution of the tax, how do we decide how much we're going to collect and how do we budget? That's what this slide shows. We estimate that the total county collections, and I'll admit that we're conservative in this, the estimated total county collections for 2019 to 2022 will be $66 million, and that would be our county-wide estimate. So distribution is based on population. Since the city of Cheyenne has the largest population at almost 65%, then that would be 42,781,000 and some change would be the city's portion out of that $66 million. The county has about 33% of the population, so $22 million. Pine Bluffs has 1.23% of the population, so a little over $800,000. Burns at 0.33%, $200,000+, and Albin at 0.2% of the population at $132,000. So if we collected $66 million, that would be how that was distributed based on population. You'll see at the bottom there's a little note that the distribution may change as a result of the 2020 census. We don't expect any big changes, but we do expect it to change a little bit. So for 2019 to 2022, our city estimate, again, we try to be conservative, is $42,500,000, which is the same amount that we estimated for the last 4-year period, 15 to 18. We would collect that over a 4-year period, so $10,625,000 a year is the entire year's tax. 80% of that would go to streets and roads, and then 20% to fire, police, and other agencies. We also, we used to the overage was not designated in the past. For the last two taxes, it has been designated, or at least partially designated. This tax, as the last one, 15 to 18, will be completely designated for overage. 80% of the overage, just like the basic tax, 80% of the overage is designated to streets and roads. 5% of the overage is designated for city operations and maintenance projects. So if, for example, the city had a building that needed a new roof and it wasn't an insured type of property, and then we would be able to dip into that account to change that roof out. But again, let me mention that that is not the part of the basic tax, only a part of the overage. And then 15% of the overage, the remaining 15% is designated to fire, police, community recreation and events, or parks, capital equipment, city county health, animal shelter, and human services, in the same percentages that is designated in the original tax. There are a couple of agencies that don't receive overage, and the airport board is one of them, and that's because we pay leases, and I'll talk more about those. But we pay leases for property to the airport board, so they don't have a need for overage. And then the Joint Powers Economic Development Board also does not receive overage funds, and basically it's because they don't have any operational costs, so again, no need for increases there. So out of the 80%, what do we do with that? 80% is, again, set aside for street and road, and that's why most people refer to this as the road tax, the fifth penny sales tax, the road tax, but it is, in fact, a general purpose tax. City street and road maintenance, so over the 4-year period, $22,700,000 is designated for streets and roads. That's $5,675,000 a year. So what do we do with that? Some of it goes to our street and alley division. Street and alley division is responsible for street maintenance. So they're the ones who patch your potholes, sweep the streets. They buy asphalt. They snow plow. So they also buy ice melt products. We have to replace all of our equipment. So if we need a new motor grader to blade your alleys, or we need a new truck sander plow, or a dump truck or a plow truck, same thing. This is where we get the money to do that. Dust control on those 13 miles of dirt roads. All of those come from the street and alleys portion of the tax. We also have the engineering department that does grind and overlays, slurry seals, chip seals, crack seals. You probably have seen some of the chip seals that we've been doing around town, so I hope you're liking those too. They have been putting a fog seal on top of those, which is kind of helps them hold those together and use the smaller rocks. They seem to be working in town. Concrete street and intersection repair and ADA ramps are another piece of the pie that the street and alley and engineering department use your tax dollars for. Another portion is the traffic safety improvements, $2.9 million, $725,000 a year. Sounds like a lot each year, but when you look at a traffic signal, which costs about $250,000 for one intersection, and the city owns 77 of those, that money doesn't go as far as you might think. But we do maintain and actually install new traffic signals. We did just put one up at 5th and Deming, and using your 2015 to 2018 tax. Next one probably would be going up at Story and Ridge, where we've put the four-way flashing light, but that's where we intend to put the next light. School and pedestrian signals, traffic signs, traffic paint, and again, all their equipment. You need to buy a new paint truck now and then, a new sign truck now and then, and of course a pickup now and then for the folks to get around in to make those repairs. Another piece is drainage maintenance, $2.2 million, $550,000 a year. So that pays for maintenance and repair of storm sewers. We have about, over 2,000 inlets in the city of Cheyenne. Your roadways basically are the first step of your drainage system. So water goes into those inlets. Well, first starts on the roads, and that's where you want it to be, in the road, not on your property. And it goes to these inlets, and the inlets to our detention and retention ponds, and then from there to our waterways. So this helps to maintain all of those pieces of the drainage system. It also helps to address water quality in the creek. So if you've seen the goats, and we've have them for the past couple of years, both in Dry Creek and Crow Creek, that costs, you'd be surprised how expensive goats are. They're $100,000, but they're well worth the money because they are cheaper than what it would cost to put people in there to clean up those areas. And they'll eat anything, which is nice. They'll eat just anything. So the last piece is administration for construction projects. We do have 5 inspectors and 1 secretary that this tax pays for, and this is the portion of the tax that it comes from. They go out and make sure that you're getting your money's worth. So they're on site at the all those projects that we're paying for with your fifth penny tax, and they're making sure that those contractors are doing what we've asked them to do, and we're getting a quality product. So the inspectors are a very important part of the fifth penny sales tax. Again, administration is always a piece of anything that you do. You have to do paperwork or computer work, and you have to buy paper and pencils and computers and phones and all of those kinds of things, trucks for the people to get around. So that this portion of the tax pays for that. And the last piece is the planned major street projects. We do set aside $4 million for large projects. We have 3 priorities this year. We've scaled that back. We usually have 3, but we're noticing we're only getting to 2 or 3, so we're making sure that we're cutting it down and making only the promises that we can keep. Priority 1 is to replace and widen the bridge on 5th Street over Crow Creek. If you look at that area, I think we can do a lot better, especially in the pedestrian corridor, make it safer and better for people who walk, people who run, people who ride bicycles, people who use wheelchairs or canes to get around. It's very important that the transportation system is safe, not just for the drivers, but for all the people who use our transportation system. So this is our number 1 priority. Our number 2 priority is to widen East Dell Range between College Drive and Whitney Road. If any of you that use this area, if you go east from Dell Range, you'll notice that that is a very undersized area. It's picked up in traffic, just crazy amounts of traffic on that road these days. Lots of large subdivisions going in out there. And we're also working together with the county and the state to do projects in that area. We need to improve the road, make it wider, give it more capacity so that more cars can travel on it. And again, we need to make it safe for our pedestrians, our bicyclists, and anybody who uses it, runners, walkers, people who use wheelchairs. Everybody deserves to have a safe transportation system, and that is what this tax pays for. And our last priority is to realign Missile Drive at 19th Street. We would put a new bridge over Crow Creek and a pedestrian corridor. Right now, if you want to walk in that area, you must walk in the street, and the speed limit in that area is 40, which can make it pretty scary if you're on that street as a pedestrian or bicyclist. The intersection is also skewed, which makes it difficult to see. It's just not a safe intersection. We'd like to make it better and better for everybody. So that is our 3rd and final priority. So that's the 80% of what we're going to do with your tax. Again, roads, roads, roads. That's where we're going. But the other 20%, what do we do with that? Well, the budget for the other agencies is 20% of the tax. It goes to fire and rescue to start with, and that's at $1.2 million plus, $308,000 plus a year. And really, they use that to buy red trucks. And it sounds like a lot of money, but we recently spent $1.3 million for the most recent ladder truck. So when you think of how much it costs to buy fire trucks, this money doesn't really go a long way. But again, they can use it to leverage grants, and that's exactly what they did with the ladder truck, was use that $300,000 over the year to leverage against some state grants. Police also uses this mainly for vehicles, police cars, and you'll see that on their on the cars. If you pull up behind them, it'll say purchase with your fifth penny sales tax. they really don't have another source of funds. The amount of money that it costs, not only for the car, but the things that go in the car to allow communication for the officers and to keep them safe, is very expensive. And the county actually talks more about some specific numbers on that. But $2.1 million, $2.2 million, $541,000 each year, and they're buying cars. SUVs these days. Some more of the 20%, community recreation and events, what everybody knows as parks. They have two little pots. One is right-of-way maintenance, $400,000 each 4-year period, or $100,000 each year. And that goes to maintain areas of landscaping in the right-of-way. So, for example, we built the large double-lane roundabout at Pershing, Converse, that area. And there's a lot of grass around that area, and it needs to be kept up. And when we build a road project, I believe the voters expect us to maintain it in the way it should look the way it looks for a long time to come. It should look good, and we want to maintain it that way. So we do carve out a small piece of money for the Community Recreation and Events Department to maintain that area, those types of areas. And then the other part, facilities, equipment, grounds, and programs, $1.5 million, $393 plus each year. That pays to maintain the parks themselves. So the three biggies are down there, Romero Park, Sun Valley Park, and then the Lions Park. And then there's a lot of pocket parks around the area as well that they maintain. So it's important that they have funds to take care of those parks and maintain them in the way that the taxpayers expect. Another piece, capital equipment. Capital equipment is a small fund, $717,000 for the 4-year period, $179,000 plus each year. And what it does is it goes for those agencies in the city that don't receive fifth penny sales tax. So police, for example, aren't eligible for this. Fire's not eligible. Community recreation and events isn't eligible. But our fleet maintenance division is. And they recently asked for a service truck so that they could go out and gas up vehicles out the landfill, or fix a flat tire, those kinds of things. One of our areas bought some big swamp coolers because they don't have air conditioning in the mechanical areas. So just things like that make them more comfortable or make us able to better serve the citizens. Continue on with the 20%, city county health. So they basically buy vehicles and equipment, and you'll see that picture there of the one of the people that drives those around. Those vehicles are very important so that the city county health people can get out to where their customers are, out in Laramie County, throughout, out in Albin, out in Burns, out in Pine Bluffs, all of those places that people live and work and need service there. So those vehicles provide that, and your fifth penny sales tax dollars do that. The animal shelter, vehicles and equipment again, so $90,000 for the 4-year period, $22,500 each year, and they use that to buy vehicles. The airport board, what we pay for are lease agreements, and we pay $240,000 for the 4-year period, $60,000 a year. That pays for the property at the compost facility, the Converse softball fields, and then weed and pest. So those three, and it's a set amount of money every year, $60,000, that goes towards those three properties. We have also human services. So we set aside $1 million over the 4-year period, or $250,000, basically in support of the poor. And we all know they're out there. Lots of people need help. This is a way that the agencies can apply to United Way, and then United Way is a portion of our Human Services Advisory Council. Our Human Services Advisory Council meets. They are United Way, the county commissioners, and the mayor and council members, and they decide how that money is used. So it doesn't go straight to United Way. It does come through a Human Services Agency Council. Economic development is the last piece, and basically that's for job creation. So in order to help Laramie County bring in more jobs, a small portion of your tax, $800,000 for the 4-year period, or $200,000 each year, goes towards that economic development. And then here's just a pie chart, and it shows you where your money goes. And the big blue space, obviously, is streets and roads, and that's, again, why they a lot of times refer to this tax as the road tax. And then as you go from the left and go up, fire, police, parks and recreation or community recreation and events, city county health, the animal shelter, the airport board, economic development, capital equipment, and human services. So you can see that the majority of the tax obviously goes towards your roads. And that is all I have, and I will pass it off to Commissioner Heath with the county.
Thank you, Marguerite and Vicki. The county presentation tonight, I have some representatives from our county departments here tonight that I will be asking to come up and explain a little bit better some of the ways that the county uses the funding. Okay, the 1 cent optional sales tax. This is how Laramie County uses it. I welcome everybody here. Our funds basically go for roads, sheriff patrol, libraries, fire districts, health and welfare, and parks. Over the last 4 years, you can see here the amount that has been collected each year. We received the second largest portion at about $29 million in this last go-round on the fifth penny ballot. We distribute our money by percentages to our county departments. This allows them to do some budgeting for each year, and they can plan to as they move forward with their budgets. Public Works receives 69%, the library